I want to check the squish again now that I have sealer on the cylinder base. Alright, everything looks good on the squish now. I can go ahead and screw in the compression release. I had to remove the bar studs in the inner side plate to install the brake parts. First part is this little lever. And an E-clip goes on top of it. Alright, now that the E-clip is on, install the little spring. Alright, when I was assembling the brakes, I noticed that there's not a place for an E-clip on the one pin, that it was just splined. So I thought maybe they installed the wrong pin. Wasn't sure what I was going to do at this point. Then I got to looking and realized the pin probably went all the way through the crankcase there. So I removed the muffler, took a punch and knocked it out, and they'd driven the pin in backwards. Alright, now I got the pin installed the correct way. You can see the groove in it for the E-clip. So now I can proceed with installing the brake. Install this lever into the brake handle. So I'm going to put the brake handle down on. Now I'll put the brake band on. Looks like so far. Brake band sitting in here. A little lever underneath. This lever goes through into the brake handle. E-clip here, be sure you have an E-clip groove. And then there's an E-clip down here. Be sure the E-clip groove's there, because your pins may be installed backwards like this one was. So now I will install the spring with the insulator installed on it. Make sure this big spring is seated in the groove in this pin. I'll show you one last time what the brake parts look like here before I put the cover on. I'll even just hold the camera here in case you want to pause the video here to look at it. I'm going to go ahead and lay this brake cover on. I'm not seeing the screws that hold it on right now. When I find them, I'll go ahead and install them. But to keep making progress, I'm moving on right now. Put this inner side plate back on, and the bar studs. Got the cover, inner side cover reinstalled, bar studs tightened down. Tighten that screw down there, and I found something. Screw for brake cover. They're also in with the oil pump screws. I just left them laying there because I knew I would need them and forgot I left them there. muffler back on. Guess I'll go ahead and see about putting the rear handle on. Pop some of these AV buffers in place. This is a smaller one. I'll put the impulse hose on the rear handle assembly. The intake boot and clamp can go on now. Get in your big bag of rubber parts, it looks like there's a bunch of extra parts. This O-ring was used on the chain adjuster. This was an insulator for the brake. And this is the sealing washer for the oil cap. This is a sealing washer for the fuel cap. This was on here. Now I'm ready to put the rear handle assembly on the saw. As it goes together, you need to put the impulse line on the crankcase and get your intake boot through. Now I'll go ahead and use these self-tapping screws to bolt the tank / handle assembly to the saw. This one is not a self-tapping screw. This is a grommet for the wiring harness. Remove the screw. I'll hook this up for the ignition ground. I'm going to recheck the air gap on the ignition coil, but I'm not going to show that since I've already showed that once. Rechecked my air gap. It did look like it moved a hair, so it was a good thing I did check it. Got the plug wire tucked down in this channel. Got this wiring over here so it doesn't get tangled up in the flywheel. Ready for the recoil starter now. My brake handle already has this rubber bushing with the steel insert already installed, so I do not need these two parts. Long bolt goes up at the brake, and the 3 remaining short bolts go everywhere. I'll have the saw flipped over, put the fuel cap on. And I guess wouldn't hurt to be sure your fuel line is on and the fuel filter is on it too. Put the top cover on now. You probably want to put your spark plug in now, but I'm going to do a little comparison between the Farmer Tech spark plug and an NGK plug. I've been amazed so far at how well everything is aligned for this being a aftermarket piece.